I got it. I know what I want to talk about. That's why I didn't like that. My hair don't look. Keep my hair in my face. Thug life. Well, since I guess I talked about mushrooms and the key and different spiritual keys to get to the spiritual world, guess I can talk about what is the spiritual world. Let me stun on you guys. I don't know if my head in the way. Uh oh. Uh oh. What is that? You see it. You see it. Had to stunt one time inside the house because it's too hot outside. But yeah, pretty much talk about what I feel like the spiritual world is, and pretty much how deep I think it goes. Because honestly, I say life is like a thing of balance, like it's 50-50. But I'm about to just ramble for a long time right now, so y'all just bear with me. But like, pretty much I feel like the spiritual world is everything, honestly. Like, even though I be saying it's like the yin and yang, it's 50% physical, it's 50% spiritual, like, I don't think so. Like, literally every living physical thing has spiritual qualities. Like, so literally spiritual is everything. So like, the fact that we have no connection to it, but like, I'm not gonna say no connection, but we have connections to it, but they're real small and not even as effective as it really could be, I guess. Like, some examples I can give, like, we talk to the dead a lot. We might not say it, but like, people always go visit graves. People constantly talk and pray and ask the people close to them, like, what's going on. They talk to them. That's the like the probably one of the most spiritual things you could be like or interact with. Like, you actually talking to someone that's not even here anymore, and you feel like you might not feel like they're talking back, or when you pray, you might not feel like you're talking back to God, but that voice you hear is God. Like, that same voice in your head, that's God. Like, when you're connecting with your people that you want to connect with, like, they hear you, and like, usually you get some type of blessing and back from it, or they just watch out for you whenever you do need it. You might be doing good in life and just miss them. So I mean, you might not even need their help, but they definitely gonna come back. Deep friend is right. Fish is full of shit, and I gotta stop eating it. But I mean, with me, the spiritual world, bro, is just like blocked by this human shell that we have, or our ego. Like, our body is fully spiritual. Like, it can do magical things, but like, we don't know it because, like, pretty much if you looked at the new Spider-Man, I'm taking this from KT the Arch Degree. He was like the training wheel protocol that Spider-Man had on his suit. It's the same thing with our body, like, and our mind and all the different things. Like, we can't really access the spiritual world and do these amazing things that we want to do until we, get there through lessons, experiences, shit, wisdom, all type of different shit. Yeah, but I mean, pretty much, it gets deep. Like, we all have a connection with each other, and like, that one connection is pretty much spiritual. Like, when they say we are brothers and sisters, or we all one, like, when you hear that in many religions and shit like that, and religion is like the most spiritual thing that you could really, that most people are connected to, but the religion don't teach you anything about the real spiritual world. Like, if Jesus died and came back, where did he go? Like, they don't answer those questions. Like, those, it's like, Jesus also was like gone for 33. No, he didn't come back till like he was 33. He left like at a certain age and didn't come back till he was 33. Like, what was he doing? What was he learning? What was he mastering to come back and do all these miracles and majestic things and be this godlike figure to everybody? Because I mean, he always had an in him, of course, just like I say we do. But it took him what, 30 or 20 years, I'm sorry, to learn all that shit. So like, what was he learning? Like, those are the spiritual things that we can do. Like, we can be Jesus. Like, I am Jesus in a sense. I mean, I don't follow Jesus Christ, but Yahweh, whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm just another version of them, or them. Like, it's the same thing. Shit, we all are, honestly. Some versions of different gods and leaders or ancestors. Some people might be a branch of MLK. Some people might be a branch of Malcolm X. Some people might be a mix of both. Shit, it might be all of us. Like, might just get passed down through time, bro. We all learn how to just, we take something from another leader, take this from another leader. Cause I'm not gonna die like Jesus did. Like, I'm not. Man, nobody hanging me up. So I got a different story. Even when I watched Caesar and Planet of the Apes when he died at the end. Spoiler alert, sorry. Even though that's like the main spoiler. Everybody knows that. But pretty much like he traveled, took his people all the way to the land that his son found, and pretty much when he seen it, like he was already dying and shit from a womb, but like he got there, he seen it, and like the relaxation on his face is the face I want to have, because that's like that true freedom. Like, I don't gotta worry about shit no more. My people can just be happy, like we were in heaven on earth, which is heaven, but whatever, a version of heaven. Well, this is a version of heaven and hell. Like, oh, this is another thing I could bring up with the spiritual world. Like, this is a spiritual world. Like, it was built by God, their image, and like pretty much the only way you could leave this lesson, this world, this plane, this existence is by pretty much taking off your training wheels and learning how to maneuver. And you can come back and forth like Jesus. And another thing I'm taking from KD, the arts degree, is the neighborhood super Spider-Man. He's like, pretty much all the Marvel characters are based off old Egyptian gods and shit like that. I don't know if I was covering up the mic, but all old Egyptian gods. And pretty much like the Spider-Man, the god that Spider-Man is based off of is the god that likes to come back and stay with the people down on earth and help us grow and help us out when we need it. So, but you can also be the god that wants to always be in the knowledge, always want to be, you know, almighty and all powerful, and, you know, choose not to come back and then, you know, do your own, well, you go to the next level of your life. But what I was gonna say is that I feel that this world, this lesson that we have to learn about this life is balance. Like the yin and yang, the fact that we have the moon and the sun, the fact that we have, what else do we have that's pretty much balanced? Like, like, even the things that's healthy for you, if you take too much of it, it's not healthy. Like, everything is about balance in this life, and like nothing is truly wrong, nothing is truly right. It just depends on like if you're on the line. Like, it's so iffy because it has to be balanced. Like, certain people can do certain shit and other people can't because they have a certain power or leverage or whatever. Like, it's all about balance. You know, like, even when you don't have money or something like this, you can't do the dumb shit rich people can because you don't have that leverage. You don't have that balance to balance out the dumb shit you do. Some people do. And I think it's about learning how much balance you have and learning how to work in between that harmony and that existence, I guess, in this world. Like, I think this world is, like, the lesson we all have to learn is about harmony, balance, and pretty much, like, even karma. Like, it's all about balancing your life, soul, like, and what you've done over time and through your other eternities. Like, this seems like this place is the one that shows you all the fuck-ups you did from the past. Like, if you was an asshole, bro, you're going to feel it on this earth. I promise you. Like, nigga, you not, even if you are doing good, you're not doing good in the head. Like, a lot of these rich people, we be feeling like they have the world, but, like, the reason they still trying to make more money and all this other shit is because they lost pretty much. Like, they eventually, like, bro, it's a such thing as enough money. Like, you're comfortable. 10 generations of your family is comfortable. If 10 generations of your family can't figure out what the fuck you figured out, you've already failed. So pretty much, like, these people are not happy. They're not comfortable because they're trying to make trillions and whatever numbers after fucking a trillion, which we'll know in like 10 years because we'll have those people walking around, honestly, if we keep going the way we're going now. But I don't think we will. So let me take that back. Yeah, but I mean, pretty much the spiritual world dictates a lot of things, man. And like, people feel like they're trapped in these what cycles, I guess. I mean, that's the best way to explain it, or the rat race, or the matrix, or whatever you want to call it. And it's because you're spiritually blocking like yourself from passing them. Like if you was one with yourself, like you'll know that you're hurting yourself and you'll make the changes. Like even if it's not immediate, you'll practice, you'll work, you'll try. Like you're not ignoring it. So like the spiritual world is everything. Back to my point or my conclusion. Even though I don't want to end this story, but it was a good little whatever. Rambling, like I said. I mean, what else could I explain about the spiritual world? The magnetism in our bodies, kind of just our auras, and all those like things you hear from palm reading and psychics, like they have some powers. Not all of them. Of course, some people fake it, some people don't. I mean, you can know everything you need to know within yourself. So I feel like you don't need to go to those people. If you just one with yourself, you'll figure all this shit out on your own. Even if you do have to take some of the another thing I can go with the spiritual world, even though we already talked about this, is the drugs. Like if you do need help connecting to the spiritual world, take shrooms and trust me, you'll be in that bitch in a heartbeat. Like KT was talking about taking DMT and he was like instantly like he hit DMT twice. He was supposed to hit it 3 times. On the second puff, he was instantly in another world. And like he said, he went inside his body and all type of different things we could do. But I'm just saying, like with the spiritual world, it's unlimited. Nobody really knows like everything about what it is. Like just like how scientists is always contradicting themselves about shit that they taught and shit that they're teaching now. Like life is always changing. So same as the spiritual world. The spiritual world is literally infinite and multi-dimensional and so many other things. Like so. No one knows the true state of the spiritual world. We just know it's out there. It's pretty much everything we know. And I mean, shit, that's life, bro. Like your soul is infinite. Like your soul is just like the spiritual world. Like that is the connection. Like when I say I don't think you can go to the, like you can physically leave Earth, is because like you're on this plane of existing. You're magnetized to this earth. It could be magnetized or densitized or whatever. But I don't know if densitized is the word. But people say it's either density. I think it could be magnetism too, because how the North Pole and the moon and the sun interact with the North Pole and follow it. It could be magnetism. Because like I was talking to my friend, pretty much was saying like, how can you defy something that's constant? And we're talking about gravity now. Like planes, birds, beetles, everything. Like certain things just can defy gravity, but then a building or a boat with freight on it there's no locks on the boat and holding the freight down, but the boat is in fucking Antarctica and the freight is hanging upside down, but the gravity can hold that down, but it can't hold the fucking butterfly down to the ground. Like how can we jump if gravity is constantly holding us down? Like it doesn't make sense. Like you can't defy something that's constant. Period. It's logic. But magnetism is not a constant thing. It could be weakened. It can be repowered. It can be, well, what is the best word, the real word for it? Polarized and, all that shit. Like you could change the polarity of a magnet and all these other things so you can manipulate it. And that would make a lot more sense because, I mean, gravity is so fickle. Like literally, it'll sink. Like if you floating stuff on the water, like a fucking penny will sink, but a piece of wood that's 10 times bigger wouldn't. Like they call it buoyancy and all that other shit, but still like other pieces of wood would sink. So it's like what's the whatever. I don't even know if I'm completely right with it, but I just know it's questions to it. And I know gravity is definitely bullshit because we're not leaving here. Like, you can't leave here. Even to the fact of, now I'm getting a flat earth, but it's really spiritual earth. But, like, you need thrust. You need some type of thrust to push off on. What thrust are you pushing off on if there's no air? If there's nothing in a vacuum of space, there's nothing. So what are you pushing off on? And even to add to that, a rocket ship should only be able to climb so high in Earth because the air pressure slowly disintegrates the higher you go up. So the higher you go up, you're pushing on less shit. So you will start descending because you have nothing to push on. Like literally a rocket ship will be going up and down because once it comes back down, the force that it has, I mean, if it has enough force to hold it up from coming down, then it'll go right back up. But I mean, after you don't have any pressure to push on, you know, you're fried. These are just logical things I'm stating. But all is just tied up, and just to probably end this one, I'm gonna have to go to part 2 because I'm already at 15 minutes. Is the only way you can leave here is, like I said, unlocking your training wheels and having out of body experiences, which is another part of the spiritual world. And video 2. Deuces.